welcome back to Amazing Psychology. It's great to have you with us today. So we're still on Lifespan Psychology, the second book in our IGNOU syllabus, and today we'll be dealing with the topic Lifespan Perspectives. Now there are 4 subtopics within it, and let me tell you ahead of time, 2 of these topics have repeatedly come for exam questions, which is issues in lifespan development and stages in human development. So pay attention as we go through this, and if possible, please do take notes. Now let's look at what lifespan development means. While lifespan development is a methodical intra-individual change associated with progressions corresponding to age, let's break that down. Methodical refers to a systematic process. It's not a chaotic process, it's a very systematic process. Intra-individual refers to within an individual. And progressions corresponding to age refers to certain changes that progress as a person grows in age. So altogether, lifespan development is a very systematic change that occurs within an individual as they progress to certain stages in their lifetime. Lifespan refers to an ongoing process that we go through while we are growing up. It's the period of time from the conception and it goes all the way till death. Now, I already talked about why we learn about lifespan development in my previous video, but we'll just review it once again. It is so we can understand how and why people change and grow. And once we get this knowledge, we can then use it to apply and help other people to live up to their full potential. Here's another definition of lifespan development. Human development is a multidisciplinary study of how people change and how they remain the same over time. Now, there are a few aspects in this that we'll just break down. Multidisciplinary study refers to a study involving many disciplines, like, for example, cognitive, social, psychological, etc. And when you talk about how people change, it refers to how they differ as they go through the different stages of their life. And how they remain the same over time talks about some intrinsic characters or some inherent characters that remains constant all throughout their growth. Let's just take a look at what that means in a little bit more detail. So when you talk about how people change, it talks about the complexity and uniqueness of a person. So each person is complex and each person is unique. No 2 people are the same. So how people change talks about how things change within them that makes them unique from the rest of the people. And the second part, which is how they remain the same over time, refers to the common things that remain the same between people, like their love for socializing or the need to talk. All of these are the same across most people. It's common among a huge population. And also you'll be able to find patterns across different people. So basically, human development is a study of how people are unique and complex, and also how they have lots of similarities between them, and it involves many disciplines. Let's gain a brief understanding of lifespan development. There are 4 interactive forces that affect lifespan development. We call them interactive forces because all of them do not exist on their own. They are interconnected and are influenced by each other. The first is biological forces. It includes all the genetic material that a person is born with, as well as health-related factors that influence the development all through childhood. Some examples are prenatal development, brain maturation, puberty, menopause, facial expression. As you can see, all of these are biological factors that go through all human beings, at least all human beings who are healthy. The second force is psychological force. This includes the perception, cognitive capacity, emotion, personality factors that are seen as a child progresses in growth. Some examples are intelligence, self-confidence, honesty, and self-esteem. The third force is socio-cultural forces. It's a mix of social and cultural forces. This includes interpersonal, societal, cultural, and ethical factors that influence the development of a child. So there are examples here. Your family influences how you grow up. Your peers in school and at work influence how you grow up and how the changes happen in you. Your development changes accordingly. Your co-workers and the social institutions that you are part of also affect you. Culture influences you. People of different cultures have different types of development. And finally, one key thing is that poverty also influences how you develop. The final factor is called life cycle force. Now, life cycle force is a study of the differences that occur in people across different ages, even though they are all placed and go through the same event. Now, you can understand that no two people experience an event in the same way. For example, the traumatic death of a family member. A child might be more affected than someone who's already grown up and is an adult. People in different ages, even when they go through the same situation, are influenced in a different way. So this is a summary of all the four forces that have an influence on lifespan development. Okay, so let's talk about issues in lifespan development. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, this question has been asked many times during the exam, so please do take notes. If you at least take the notes that are put down here, you will be able to write the main points for the exam. Now let's take a look at a definition of what issues means. Life issues are common problems or issues or crises that happen to normal people who are living normal lives. So these are common problems. It's seen commonly among all people who are leading a normal life and who are normal. Let's look at some examples. Managing one's relationships so that they are healthy and functional. An example is when you look at a married life, people are careful that they maintain a healthy and functional married life, and maintaining relationships with their in-laws is something that affects them. Then there is surviving disabilities, coping with grief, loss and self-esteem issues. All of these are problems that are commonly seen that normal people have in their lives and normal people have to overcome or manage. The definition we previously looked at was with reference to the issues or problems that normal people face. Now let's look at some of the issues that researchers face when they study lifespan development. The first is continuity and discontinuity. Let's see what that means. There's this question about whether development is a very even and continuous process or whether it occurs in very specific stages marked by a certain age. We've already talked about this in the previous video, and this is a question that troubles most researchers. Now, the people with the first view, which is the continuous model view, describe that development is a very smooth process. There are no sharp or distinct stages within them, and the individual passes through all these stages in a very smooth manner. But people who advocate the discontinuity model, they describe development as a discontinuous process of gradual accumulation of behavioral skill or knowledge. So what that means is it doesn't happen in a very smooth process. It's not that a child is smoothly learning everything that it's learning all through its lifetime. You see that there is accumulation of certain behaviors at certain ages, certain skills are acquired at a certain age, and certain concepts are understood at a certain age. For example, children who are too small do not understand the concept of death. It takes them a certain age when they realize what death means. So in that way, you can say that the discontinuous model stands for ahead of the continuous model, but still these are two models which are very much in consideration by researchers. An example again is walking by the age of 1. Then the second issue in lifespan development is stability and change. So there the question is whether development is best characterized by stability versus change. Let me explain what that means. Everyone has certain characteristics in them, certain traits like shyness, boldness, courage, aggression. So there's a question whether the aggression or the shyness stays constant throughout the lifespan or whether it changes. And if it does change, to what degree does it change? That is the question, whether there's stable character all throughout the lifespan or whether there are changes, and if there are changes, to what degree does the change occur as a person progresses in their lifespan. The third issue is nature versus nurture. We've talked about this before as well. Let's just go through it once again. This is whether the behavior of a person or a child is ultimately influenced by hereditary factors such as their genes or environmental factors such as the environment and the culture that they are exposed to. An example, as I mentioned before, is genes or upbringing. Let's look at the stages in lifespan development. This is also a question that has come repeatedly in the exam, so please do pay attention. We'll first look at what the stages are. Developmental stages are defined by milestones. Now, what does a milestone mean? Milestones refer to the development that has to take place according to the age of the child. So when you study a broad population of children, you will see that certain developments such as walking or talking happen within a specific age period. Making sure that the child acquires that skill within that specific age period is what a milestone is. Examples, as I said, are standing and walking at the age of 1 year, saying a few words by the age of 2 years. Now, when you look at stages, you can see that all individuals pass through various stages throughout their life as they move from childhood to adulthood. These changes that occur within them are changes in intelligence, changes in expertise, the capacity to reason, there are psychological changes, there are plenty of adaptive changes, lots of changes that happen as a person goes through their entire lifespan. The main developmental periods are broken down into 4 or 5. Let's take a look at what they are and what age span it falls under. The first is childhood and adolescence. Now, childhood and adolescence fall within the bracket of the time from birth to the age of 20 years. Next is early adulthood. Early adulthood is considered to start at the age of 17 and goes on till the age of 45 years. Middle adulthood starts at around 40 years and goes up to around 65 years. And then there's the final phase, which is late adulthood, which starts at around 60 years and goes on till the person dies. Now you can see that there's a certain amount of overlap between all of these because it's not exactly very clear when one stage stops and the other starts, which is why there seems to be an overlap between the years mentioned here. Let's take a look at the domains of human development. What is a domain? A domain is simply a categorization. It's basically categories used by scientists to categorize human development. So if there are different kinds of human development, they'll create a category for that particular type of human development. Let's take a look at what are the examples of domains. There's physical growth, cognitive, social. All of these are different domains. They are not independent from each other, but they refer to a very specific type of development that happens in human beings, and therefore they have been branched out into a different category. Let's look at the different kinds of domains of human development. As we already mentioned in the previous definition, there's the physical domain, and what is included in the physical domain is how humans grow and they change physically at all stages of development. When you look at development, it happens across the lifespan of a human being, and the question is how the human grows and how the human changes physically. So when you talk about the physical domain, it's the physical changes that we are referring to, for example, puberty. Now there's a psychological domain, which is again a question of how the human being changes psychologically as they develop. It focuses on how much the individual is capable of adjusting to the environment that they are living in, because adjustment is very, very essential for the survival of any organism, and in the same way for a human being as well. Now the kind of childhood adjustments that you require a child to have is learning how to suck, then there's breathing, walking, talking. All of these are adjustments to the environment that a child needs to learn in order to survive. When you move into adulthood, or the period when they grow, there's adjustment to self, adjustment to others, and adjustment to the environment. The next is the cognitive domain. This refers to changes that occur within the cognition capacity of a human being. Now, examples of that include focusing on learning, attention capacity, perception, and memory. An example of this is how you learn in school and how you are capable of learning all throughout your life, and how much of progress you make in school. The final is the social domain, which obviously is related to how you interact with people. So it focuses on your adjustment to other people and learning the right ways of interaction. For example, there's social skills development and relationships. So if you look at it, a human being changes all throughout their lifespan, and these different domains that we talked about today measure and study the changes that occur in that particular domain with relation to development. There's a physical domain, the psychological domain, the cognitive domain, and the social domain. All right, so that's it for today's class. I hope you really enjoyed it. And if you have any questions at all, please put it down in the comments. If you have any kind of feedback that you would like to give me, please include that as well in the comments, because I would love to see how I can improve my classes. And I really hope that this has been helpful for you. Please remember to bring a book and pen when you sit down for this class, and take down notes, because this will really help you when you're trying to prepare for your exam. The main points will help you write down some notes when you're doing your exam in a systematic manner. If you have friends who are also studying the IGNOU syllabus with you, please encourage them to join this channel so that they too can get the benefit of the classes that I'm putting in here. There's a subscribe button given below. Please make sure that you subscribe, and also there's a bell icon. Make sure that you hit the bell icon so that you can always be notified every time I make a video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you at the next class.